Hi, hello, and welcome. I am Harish Sekar from the Active Directory and IT security team here at ManageEngine. And today we will be looking into predicting user behavior using deep learning algorithms. And before I actually dive into my topic, I sincerely hope and pray that the team is working out for you all, especially the impact of the cloud and AI on modern IT management practices. There's been a lot of learning, and we sincerely hope and pray that the content is informative, right? So for people who know me, welcome back. For people who are tuning in for the very first time, I hope you find this content informative. I am Harish Sekar, and I usually go by the name Harry, and that's my email address, harry@manageengine.com, right? So if you have anything, comment, feedback, if you want to share some information on what I'm talking today, how this could help your organization, or something that I could help you out related to identity access and IT security, just drop an email. And that's the easiest way we could get a chance to understand each other, right? So before we actually get into predicting user behavior, what is in store for you all? This is where I'm going to open up my agenda, and I'm going to go above and beyond, so that starting today, you would have a different approach on machine learning, which is the base point of artificial intelligence. And you will have a better understanding of how IT security and machine learning work hand in hand. Because as on date, many people think machine learning is taking their jobs away. But the point that I'm going to make today is machine learning or deep algorithms are there to enhance your work profile and to give you better perspective of what you guys are doing, right? Especially the administrators or IT security professionals. These are people who are, short of hands, and how machine learning could give you more hands at the same time, give you the data, the report, the analysis that you all needed for a long, long time. And all it needs is understanding user behavior, and why predictive analysis is of utmost importance as we speak. And I'm going to introduce two new concepts, or rather two new features that have been developed by ManageEngine. And of course, that they are seasonal anomaly, dynamic peer grouping, and an overview of Log 360 UEBA, right? So this is not an outright product positioning, but a place where I'm going to give you some problems, some use cases, and how you could better understand those use cases. Because typically people think when we talk about machine learning, it's just time, count, pattern, and it's just the basic repetitive log-based analysis, or you got the logs coming in, log out. So this is what people think, but this is where I'm going to give you some use cases. And I want to break down things to you so that you can consume it the way it should be, right? So welcome, and let's get started, right? So the Hawkeye view of IT security, right? On the extreme left of my screen are platforms, and on the extreme right are attacks. So you might be wondering what is it about the platforms and what is it about the attacks? Because everybody knows that at some point of time, everyone is going to be breached. It's all about accepting it and getting as fast as possible without losing a lot of information or data. So this is what this is how I get ready every day, because it is not as easy as it seemed to protect an environment, but it is possible. So that is where I'm going to give you some tips and tricks to ensure it is no longer important to look into platforms as much as it is important to look into your users, because they are the connecting point. Example, widely known, widely clicked, widely claimed. When you send out an email to a user, do not click an email, they are going to click. So in a nutshell, you have to focus on the connecting points, which is your users, because any attack happens on them or through them, and most of the attacks, they are the starting point. It is through the weakest user on your pyramid is the gateway for an attacker to walk into your organization. And once he or she walks into your organization, they crawl their way to the deepest part of their network. So this is where understanding user behavior should be your crux of your conversation, should be the pinnacle of your pyramid. And of course, as much as you monitor your platforms, now you need to start working forward and backward of what a particular user did. How did he or she connect? You need to connect the dots. And this is where you need to understand machine learning. And let's break things down, right? Forget machine learning, forget reactive analysis, forget predictive analysis, forget everything. As we speak, of course, you guys are all glued to the talk, and I am presenting today. So in which case, in both the environment, this could be happening. So there is Steve, who is a marketer, and there's Noah, who's an administrator. There's John, who's a salesman, and Rick, who is a developer. Nancy, who is a system administrator, or Peril, who just joined in as an identity access person. So the point to be considered is Steve logged into the source code repository late last night, and downloaded a lot of information, downloaded data. Noah, who's the administrator, who is the good cop, or rather the bad cop, however you would call them, has downloaded 20 files from 9 to 10 a.m., has taken a break from 2 to 3 p.m., has downloaded 50 files, and from 5 to 6 p.m. has downloaded 5 files. Pretty strange. And John from sales, after normal working hours, logged into 10 machines at the same time and installed an application on all of the machine, right? Salespeople working after or extra time, that is commendable, but not the way they're supposed to be working, logging into 10 different machines at the same time and installed an application on all of those machines. Rick, the developer, accessing the internal payroll database for the last few weeks for a consecutive period of 14 days every single day. So what is there to be broken down? The actual fact that users could be doing anything and everything as we speak. And take a look at all of these people. These are all the most important people in your organization: Steve, Noah, John, Rick, and look at the activities that they could be doing. So as we speak, remember these conversations, remember the problems that I'm going to give you all is these one-liners that have been written under their name, right? So this is where I'm going to tell you what's happening in current organizational ecosystem. Everybody has many siloed products. You've got intrusion prevention, only understand packets, protocols, and IP addresses. Endpoint security sees files, usernames, and hosts. Service logs shows user login, service activity, configurational changes. Asset management system sees apps, business processes, and owners. And none of these, the aforementioned 4 or more, can tell you what's happening in your business. So what does this say? The baseline to understand what's happening in your organization is through your logs. You need to consolidate all of these logs. You need to go back in time, understand the dots, who did what, when, where, and this lays the foundation for a SIM solution. You might be using any SIM solution, or you might be using ManageEngine Log 360. I would leave that to you, but the point is, this is where everything is reactive. When something happens, you get to know, and then you take actions, right? So this is what has been happening, especially when we talk about IT security or cybersecurity. So you need to understand the data sources first. So I sincerely hope and pray that many of you have a SIM solution. And if you are looking out for a SIM solution, there has been a webinar, or just drop an email. I'll give you some tips and tricks, a must, the check boxes that you need to fill or tick before you go ahead and start focusing on the specific product. Because my thought process is to ensure that the customers know what they are into, and if your requirement meets it, please go ahead and start utilizing a SIM solution. But moving ahead, I hope this juncture, everybody has a SIM solution, or at least start looking for a SIM solution, because that makes your job a lot more easier because logs don't lie, and the part of a SIM solution is to basically feed the logs, archive, parse all of the information, and through that create alerts, correlation, and the baselines are set, right? And this is where you have to understand that data is just not from one source. Data could be from many sources, and the top places to look for is 95% of the organizations still have AD as their base point. Then you've got your SaaS applications, and then you've got your PaaS, then you've got your IaaS, Identity as Service, and then DHCP, you've got NetFlow, you've got applications. When I talk about applications, internal, external applications, could be run web server, etc., etc. Then there's firewall, DNS, devices, and this is where things get confusing. So a user can log into Active Directory, could challenge their machine, username and password, and after that could be opening up a browser, jumping into Office 365, and quickly through the machine can do a RDP, or instead of doing an RDP, I can even try connecting to other internal machines if I just have through a command prompt, or if I could do a PowerShell, or if I could do a commandlet. If I have the credential, I can just go ahead into other machines, start playing with applications, go ahead, disable firewall, make changes in DNS, and I could go ahead and stop or wipe away a few devices, right? So this is where things get complicated. As much, of course, a SIM does tell you what is happening, but to understand user behavior, you need to stop thinking about being reactive. And I want you all to be predictive, like predicting what is happening to a particular user in point in time. So for which you have to understand all of your data sources. And this is where a UEBA, user entity behavior analysis, because a user can do a lot more with the permissions, with the privilege that he or she has. And with UEBA, user entity behavior analysis, which uses machine learning as the base point, now has a lot of predictive algorithms or deep learning algorithms to help you redefine your IT space, IT security. I'm not going to bore you down with a lot of theory or going deep into technicality, but I'm going to give you some keywords which I want you all to pay attention, and of course read through them. And with machine learning, there is no one single button when you just click, like Windows start button. You don't have that for machine learning. That is not available. There's no one red button, right? So this is where people in the past, or people even now, rely on rule-based auditing. When I say rule-based auditing, let's go few decades back where it was just only events flowing in, and not many people actually knew what events were coming in, because it was, you either get all of the events or you get only or you get nothing. So this is what was available till 2008, and 2008 R2 talking into Active Directory. You got the advanced audit policies where you could trim, streamline the respective audit event IDs that could seep into your organization, not beefing up your memory, but at the same time, you are getting those information into your audit logs, your security logs. And moving forward right now, just not only AD, other logs. So you just can't be reliant on the native ways of getting alerted, rule-based alert. If this happens, alert me. Why would you do that? To track individual events, logs with specific criteria, indicators of compromise, suspicious pattern across network, bait to maximize the chances of detecting malicious activity. And of course, after rule-based alerting comes correlation-based alerting. You might be asking, Harry, correlation is rule-based alerting. So what is how is correlation the next set, or the superset of what you said about rule-based alerting? Correlation is multiple rules-based alerting. So this is where I'm going to differentiate. The rule-based alerting was just satisfying one specific rule. The correlation is sequential, like 10 logon failures, 11th immediate success, then a service installed, application installed, shut down and they leave. They wipe out the logs and they leave. So all of this put together is correlation. Rule-based alerting is event ID 4724 meets a username Harry, give me an email. So this is a specific rule. Correlation is a set of rules where I connect them, where I connect the dots, make sure that it's just not one rule. There's multiple rules solving a specific use case, right? And this is where user behavior analytics comes in. So this is not, as I told you, as I keep repeating, just to drive home the message, there's no one single red button which says machine learning enable, click. No, it is like a user behavior analytics looks at the data inside your organization, or base point being SIM solution or other sources, and correlates it by user and builds a serialized timeline, like a baseline or a standard. And machine learning builds models, baselines of normal behavior of each user and host by looking at historical and comparisons within peer groups. So it's very simple, it's straightforward. All you basically need to do is feed your machine with all of the information of the past. It reads, it understands all of it along with the user activity, combines them together and makes a baseline. And once that baseline is set, any abnormal event are detected and then aggregated through a scoring mechanism to provide a combined risk score for each user, right? So this, I hope you all have a clear understanding of where user behavior analytics fall into your IT security, right? There is no machine learning button, period. So for which you have to understand good foundation of data. You need to have all of your information, data in, data out. Example, if you have, of course, for compliance and audit specific reasons, many organizations still archive many years of data. So all I would request is feed it to your SIM solution, and through your UEBA or user behavior analytics should be feeding off your SIM solution or other sources. And once you train your user entity behavior analysis, your machine learning to understand your data, it will start assessing itself, setting baselines, setting standards, and based on user activity, it will start throwing or triggering alerts. So this is the foundation of machine learning, and for which you need to understand there's no shortcut. You need to have a good foundation of data and good idea of where your data are and what you want to get from your data, and then pick a proper machine learning technique to draw information from the data to make those correlations, right? So again, there are words which could, slightly lead you on a different space, which could be confusing, but just stay tuned, because this is the base point of machine learning, and without data, you will not get your algorithms right. It cannot train itself. So this is where I would kick off my talk with what is happening in the market. As we say, machine learning is the core of many organizations. Everybody is jumping into machine learning algorithms, artificial intelligence, and cybersecurity. But the truth is, most of them are confused. Of course, 64% of administrators or people in cybersecurity space admit that they're not sure of what AI and ML means. I've hyperlinked it. This is one link from Webroot or Open Text, one of the leading threat intelligence company. And they basically say this is an amazing article. Despite increased adoption at a global scale, 64% of people still admit they are not sure about what AI and ML means, right? I appreciate such answers because they are at least giving a statement of what they feel. And 89% of the IT professional believes their company could be doing more to defend against cyber attacks, which is another crucial finding from that specific survey. So give it a read when you get the slide deck to your inbox, or drop me an email. I'll be more than happy to share that with you all. And these 64% is an amazing fact, and 89% feel that their company could be doing more by bringing in ML tools to defend cyber attacks, because it is taking the world by storm, like ransomware attack, people clicking, downloading files, and people like Noah downloading files at periodic interval. Nobody will pay attention because the baseline is now set to 50, and Noah could just be downloading in few hours time. So that is important, that you understand that machine learning is there to enhance your work profile and not there to cost you your job. So this is where I want every administrator or IT security professional, you don't have to build your own machine learning algorithm. So that is exactly where product companies such as ManageEngine exist. So our job is to make your life easy. So all you basically need to do is, if you are interested, just download Log360, and the Log360 UEBA comes in as an add-on, and you don't have to do any coding, or you don't need to set up any algorithm. The tool will feed off your data from the Log360, and it will seamlessly give you answers from all of the data that you have. If you have tons and tons of data, the tool will be ready in a couple of days. But if you don't have data, the tool will take a limited period of time to assess users and their entity and to give you answers. Okay, so understanding users through machine learning, with all the cruxes being addressed, all the important points being iced out. Understand, based on deep knowledge by going over old records, understands activity. Your algorithm, the machine learning algorithm, understands activity. And the most important thing, it is removes the emotion quotient. Example, of course, administrators, which in my opinion are real heroes, at critical times do give in to emotion, because though they speak in a harsh way, or this is what is being portrayed of administrators or IT security professionals, they have a heart of a newborn baby. This is what I feel with the interaction that I've done for 8 years through ManageEngine and my stint at the US, meeting a lot of administrators. Though they might seem harsh, but they are very, very emotional, and it removes the emotional quotient, and they take the blame instead of giving it to the respective people who have done the damage. So this removes it, and it calls a spade, and it auto assesses situations based on models and baselines, right? So understanding user entity behavior analysis in just a quick view is the expansion is user entity behavior analytics. It focuses on users and entity. The algorithms used are RPCA, Markovia chain, Constream, and Emma. I'm going to break all of it, so please stay tuned. The modeling is time, count, pattern, plus season. You might be wondering what season is. Stay tuned. The sources are machine learning on Windows, Active Directory, and of course, Windows, syslogs, firewall, network devices, security logs, application, FTP and SQL, AWS and Azure through Cloud Security Plus, which is an add-on into Log360, right? Risk score and session handling, you've got detailed dedicated reports available. Aggregation, you've got insider threat, data exfiltration, and compromised accounts, just how Gartner wanted things to be. And custom anomaly report is very much available, right? So this is what you get with ManageEngine, Log360, but let's go deep. Insider threat, data exfiltration, and compromised accounts. What does these three classification give you, or what does it mean? So the common theme in each of these scenarios is that the actor, when I say actor, it could be an action or an attacker or a consequence of a specific activity, either appears to be a legitimate user or acting in accordance with their credential. Example, to break it up for you. So the unique call that just came up, the anomaly which was triggered, could be like a legitimate user or someone acting in accordance of that specific user. So this is where you need to make sure that though that is an anomaly, based on time, count, and pattern, we just can't take an immediate action, right? So this is where you have to understand it's time, count, pattern, and you need to understand that the different or the anomaly that's being raised is not bad. So this is where you got to rule out few conditions, right? So detecting these threats require the ability to not only understand what is unique. When I say unique, it could be different, it could be disastrous, but to make a decision about whether the anomaly or unique anomaly means bad. So this is where, when we talk about insider threat, an example that I could give you is a user downloading files, only PDF files, suddenly downloads an Excel sheet, FTP, file transfer protocol, and then a user going ahead and deleting 100 files, and like Noah did, every few hours giving it a nice break so that nobody pays attention. 50 downloads, 25 downloads, and then 5 downloads is like, if Noah starts doing it for every single day, imagine how much of information Noah is taking back from the organization. So this is where the insider threat, the data exfiltration, and the compromised accounts, which could be a disabled user who's not been wiped out for a long time, or the practice of users who have never logged on into your organization suddenly reappear in one point of time. So you need to pay attention to all of this, that all of these 3 themes or segments have a common theme in which a user, the activity could be posed by a legitimate user or in accordance with their credential, right? So this is where you need to understand that count, pattern, and when we talk about time, what date and time, the number of count, and the patterns. These 3 things play a crucial role in a SIM solution and of course in machine learning. When it starts reading information about a specific user and through a specific entity, it starts focusing on time, how many count. So 9 o'clock, Harry, how many times did Harry log in? At 10 o'clock, how many times did he log out? On weekends, what his computer is completely idle, and on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays is his prime time where his computer, just requests and commands rest, because it's just all over the place, multiple applications, because Harry needs to speak to a lot of people, sessions happening, video recordings, and then customer interactions, escalations, internal communications. So this is where the machine learning reads through all of your logs, event IDs, time-based patterns, the sequence of logging in and post logging in. What does Harry do the first thing into this machine? Everything is read, and anomalies or risk score are auto-configured or auto-calculated based on the activities or based on the situations or symptoms that Harry gives, and the risk score are projected, and the anomalies are triggered in case if things go out of hand. So this is where I'm going to talk about predictive analysis, because if Harry logs in, generally if Harry logs in via interactive session and suddenly he logs in via RDP, the machine does sense that this is not normal and raises a flag, right? And once the flag is raised, the administrator could at least get to know that something is happening. If that was normal, this is happening. So he's got eyes all over. And machine learning is basically, in my opinion, or not just machine learning, UEBA, user entity behavior analysis, is basically setting up a virtual camera wherever a user goes. It's capturing all of the information. And the best thing is nobody knows it exists, but the administrator is getting all of the information just the way he wants, right? So to better understand, there are 2 types of models. One is supervised model. The other one is unsupervised model to the rescue. When I say supervised model, is you feed the data in, data out, and based on the feedback, you loop it back into data in, and it reassesses itself. So that is supervised learning. But unsupervised models it requires no prior training or programming. It simply analyzes a set of data and automatically identify groups with similar attributes and build baselines that help identify anomalous behavior. So this is one of the top reasons why many organizations which are getting into UEBA focus more on unsupervised model, because it is helping them to get information with least amount of time, with least amount of training, with least amount of programming, and the tool gives them what they need, right? So first thing, as we spoke about, now that Log 360 UEBA seamlessly gives you all of the information, who did what, when, where. So let me give you a quick run through of that, right? So let me go ahead. So in this space, this is how Log 360 UEBA looks. Number of events ingested, anomaly detected, tracking user and entity. When you go click on users, it will tell you who did what, when, where, from which machine. And let me quickly go ahead right here. Yes. Yes, so let me go ahead. This is the Log 360 UEBA. And what this does is when I log into my machine, it will capture all of it. It will tell me what is happening. Username, when I click on it, recent alerts, unusual files deleted with date and time. So the anomalies are all detected. So when I click on it, you will get all of it. So if you are a person who loves numbers with risk score, take a look at UEBA user 1. Average risk score 14, peak risk score is 14, compromised account 0, insider threat 24. We will tell you why we framed this, what was the reason. You can click on it, go down, read the information and view details. So this is where we have kept, and nothing in this tool, you could go ahead, you don't need to do anything. The tool will auto read the information through Log 360 with all of the log sources that you have configured, and it will give you anomaly reports just the way you want for devices, Windows, applications, firewalls, cloud services, and custom reports. So this is the baseline. Any damage anyone does, so example, file activity or deleted, is the most crucial, host name, date and time. What did he do? Click on view details. It will tell you object deleted, message was requested by this specific person and it was successful. These are the files that he deleted, close. And this is where things get easier, because the flag would have been raised and you would have got an alert by now. It's just not only for files activity, it's for firewall changes, application whitelisting, registry activity, USB activities. So everything is available and you get an instant alert once the scheduler runs and fetches the information, just not to eat your bandwidth. And we will tell you the risk score, the anomaly trends, user risk score distribution, insider threat, data exfiltration, and compromised accounts, right? But now that this has been addressed, let me now go back into my deck. And what I'm going to do is quickly jump into, yes, full screen, and seasonal anomaly detection. So before we actually look into seasonal anomaly detection, I just have a quick use case, which is covered in the specific slide. If a user never happened to log in after 6 p.m. and if the user logs in at 6:30 p.m., then it will be triggered as time anomaly, right? Time, count, and pattern keywords, remember them please. So as time anomaly, when the deviation limit is 15 minutes, 30 minutes, or 1 hour, but it will not be triggered when the deviation is set for 2 hours. So in this case, the seasonal anomaly will trigger it as anomaly as it has seen the event on the 18th hour. So it is just not time-based, it is not hourly based, it is not if the deviation is more than 15, 30, or 1 hour or 2 hours, the seasonal anomaly is taking into seasonal consideration. I'll give you more use case. Noah downloaded 20, 50, and 5 downloads at respective time frame. So if the same user downloaded and trusted time, pattern, and count alone without seasonal anomaly, what would have happened is detected 30 files downloaded in the 9th hour between 9 and 10 a.m. of next day, it will not be considered as anomaly, as the count-based anomaly detection, since it has already seen 50 downloads in the previous pattern, right? So 30 downloads will be considered as normal. The top of the downloads will be considered as the baseline, and 30 downloads will be considered as normal. However, it will be triggered as an anomaly by seasonal anomaly detection, as it compares the hour of the day as well. When we talk about yesterday, 11 o'clock, 9 o'clock, how much did he download? And today, 9 o'clock, how much did he download? It will compare that, because time count pattern focuses on that specific segment. Seasonal anomaly compares it with what has happened in the past, right? So it's just not only hourly, it is even for daily, and for which I'm going to pick the banking sector, because they have a separate or a unique holiday pattern, especially the second and the fourth Saturdays. So in which case, most of the banks across the globe, they operate on the second Saturday just for like at least half a day. And where, for example, if there is no log on or file download on the second Saturday of the previous month, and one user tries to log into server and tries to download a file on the second Saturday of this month, in traditional time count based anomaly detection, this will suppress the anomaly, as it just finds the user's pattern as usual. It will not check for season, because it's just focusing on time and count. But it will be triggered as seasonal anomaly, because the last month, second Saturday, no user logged in, but suddenly this Saturday, this month, second Saturday, people just log in and download files. So this is for daily. And then monthly, December, I'm going to quote the Christmas, the most happiest time of the year, where it's just happiness all over. There won't be any events, or there might just be a few events. Not many people will be working. They'll be taking time off to be with their family and friends. And if there is a sudden spike of people logging in at that specific month the next year, and then you know that there is a problem, because now with seasonal anomaly, it is going to give you answers. And the algorithm used in this case is exponential moving average, which is EMA, EMA. And to walk you through about EMA is, here are two major points. So which you need to understand that this is an important algorithm, more than the RPCA and Markovia chain, is the technical indicator used in trading practices that shows how security changes over a period of time. The link will give you some important information through an article. The EMA is different from a simple moving average. In that place more weight on recent data points. And the aim of all moving averages is to establish the direction of security is moving based on the past changes, and therefore exponential moving averages are lag indicators. So this is the algorithm that seasonal anomaly uses, and this seasonal anomaly is very much a part of Log 360 UEBA, right? And as we are speaking, this is how the portal looks, and this is what you guys will be seeing. So download, and you can check it for yourself, or the seasonal anomaly, which is available to be tested right now once you download Log 360. But what's in store for you all is, this is something that we are working right now, but I specifically got my team to give me a pilot build where I can show you all how this is happening. Dynamic peer grouping, and the risk score module is, it increases or decreases risk score based on peer behavior. And let's consider a scenario, because everything works out well when we understand a scenario. A set of employees work between 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. and their job is to work on a SQL server. Fair enough. Many of my colleagues and we generally do this. And one day, if the manager asks them to work till midnight to fix a critical issue, then UEBA anomaly detection module would mark all of these employees for unusual activity and set a high risk score, right? This is how it should work. It's what it's been made for. And now with dynamic peer grouping, the clustering model will first look into time, count, and pattern. And once the anomaly has been triggered, the risks, the dynamic peer grouping cluster will auto-assess itself, look for common attributes within the organization, within that specific department, within the colleagues, and within the group, and it will, the clustering model would find this as a usual behavior, since many employees are having the same behavior, and would reduce the risk score, right? When we talk about visualization, so when a user is identified with high risk, more information can be deduced when providing the risk landscape of his peer with cluster details, right? So the cluster template from the algorithm itself can be visualized, which can provide added insight about the organization, right? Instead of relying on Active Directory to provide the peer information, we can have the same behavior to derive, we can use the same behavior to derive new peer groups automatically. And this is particularly useful to discover groups unknown to Active Directory as well. And the algorithm used in dynamic peer grouping is Constraint, which is condensation-based stream clustering. And how does this work? Is Constraint is a single pass streaming algorithm, and the very first record it reads is considered as a cluster, and then it uses a similar function to determine if the next record belongs to the cluster. If not, a new cluster is created, and the process is repeated for all records, and it uses a decay function in time to determine if any of the clusters have become outdated, and it removes them, just eliminates them. And it also has a parameter k, which determines the maximum number of clusters that can be created, right? And using this helps in setting the memory, and if the number of clusters exceeds this number, the least recently used cluster is deleted, right? And this is how the tool would look. Again, the dynamic peer grouping is something that we are working on right now. I just wanted to show you all where we are heading, and if you are interested in testing out a pilot build, let me know, and I will, for which you have to reach out to me. That's the best way. And you can get dynamic peer grouping and look at what it does. Peer members, peer behavior. When we talk about peer behavior, it will give you a model as to how it is assessed. And as I told you with the peer grouping, first, the risk score will be high, and based on the Constraint algorithm, based on my peer activity, what he or she is doing along with me, and then the risk score will be brought down, and everything will be captured on the peer behavior, and the peer members will give you a quick snapshot or a quick view of who are all the people that are working on that specific assignment, right? So correlation and UEBA play hand in hand, but subtle differences. So such as 2 standard deviations from the mean is not machine learning, and 5 failed logins in 1 minute is not artificial intelligence. And remember that while machine learning processes input data as ones and zeros, the answer is all in analog, right? So basically it tells you, it throws an alert, and through an alert, it sorts the information and mitigates the problem. So this is where the predictive analysis of a user is very, very important to an organization, to understand that users are important as much as the work that he or she does. So let me quickly go ahead and show you a particular segment where correlation and UEBA plays hand in hand. Let me quickly go ahead and jump into my, yes, right here. So this is my Log 360. This is what you get when you download Log 360. The event log analyzer component comes with the correlation. So let me quickly go ahead and click on it. Click on log in. Click on event log. And of course, I will let you all download and test it for at your convenience, because it's super intuitive and super simple. And the correlation is a bunch of rules sitting together. So let me quickly go ahead into another tab. This is a component which I will directly invoke. Log in, correlation, about 600 log sources. And through that log sources, click on correlation, and you can go ahead, create your own rules. And And this is correlation. You've got templates ready, or you can go ahead and create your own correlation, drag and drop and make things very simple. But UEBA is a tad different. Time, count, pattern, season, and the algorithm will auto assess and auto create itself, because this is how we have done it, and it's all homeschooled and written from scratch by Zoho Corporation, which is our parent company. And we are extremely proud that we have done this. Let me quickly go ahead. Yep, correlation and UEBA play hand in hand, but subtle differences, which you will get to know once you put UEBA into play into your organization. And three major areas where machine learning has taken the world by storm is cybersecurity, sports analytics and gambling, and weather. And of course, since many of us love sports, I'm just going to run through this. Machine learning analysis for sports analytics involves the use of data programmed machine to make analysis. This is where supervised learning comes into picture. The machine uses this analysis program to detect similar playing patterns in individual players in the game of sport, and it is given back into a feedback, and that is how it auto defines and reiterates its baselines and standards. And flexibility in managing large volume of data helps from different log sources, helps not only the players but people who are coaching them, staff, and the management to get better analytics and more time solving team problems, as many solutions are already detected by the machine, right? Similarly for your weather, similarly for your not just for your cybersecurity, for your IT management, and a lot more. So it is catching up. And one-stop solution will be Log 360. And of course, there are features which I showed you. There are problems which I discussed. There are, with the time that I had, I hope I gave you a clear information of how machine learning enhances your work profile and thereby your organization. And if you have any questions, feel free to drop an email to harry@manageengine.com. Let me quickly show you my email address. It's harry@manageengine.com. And if you have any comment, feedback, or thoughts, please just email me, right? It's harry@manageengine.com. And I hope you found this talk informative. Thank you, and please stay tuned.